androids, cyborgs, robots. In fictional form, they've been part of the stories we tell for a very long time. But now, a new era is about to open up for them in the field of entertainment.
This robot can act, sing and make you laugh.
Il legame tra la robotica e l'intrattenimento ha compiuto quasi un secolo.
Robots can give a friendly face to dry subjects. So that's why they might play an important role in education.
Robots are not only about difficult and serious tasks, they're also about entertainment and fun.
There's a bright future for robotics within entertainment.
Tiny or massive, menacing or friendly, amusing or informative, robots can be significantly more than glorified toys. Let's discover Europe's most astonishing entertainment robots. Robots are no longer just fantasy. They're a fact of life. And the robotics sector is growing at a breakneck speed all over the world, with continuous remarkable technical developments. These machines are now being used in several fields, from industrial production to extreme explorations, and they're undoubtedly one of the key technologies that will change our everyday lives. And there's a chance that this might extend to the way we spend our leisure time, with smart, sophisticated machines designed for fun, entertainment robots. For nearly a century, robots have had a big role in the world of entertainment and fiction. So much so that the word itself comes from a work of fiction.
Quando diciamo robot pensiamo subito alla fantascienza, ai film, a scenari futuristici, all'intrattenimento del grande cinema e dei grandi effetti speciali, e tutto questo ci riporta all'origine del concetto moderno di robot. La stessa parola infatti genera, se vogliamo, dall'intrattenimento, dal divertimento. Fu infatti pronunciata per la prima volta in un teatro all'interno del testo di una commedia di Čapek, che con questa parola, che deriva dalla lingua cecoslovacca, intendeva definire un essere creato dall'uomo affinché possa compiere in sua vece lavori particolarmente pesanti o pericolosi.
Since then, it was the year 1920, robots have found a special place in our imagination, thanks to literature, toys and especially cinema. However, the future could have an even bigger role in store for them.
For the future of entertainment, robots will certainly play a visible role, because I believe that they will allow new kinds of entertainment. You'd probably pay for interacting with a humanoid robot. You'd probably pay to see humanoid robots interacting against each other. Maybe there will be robo fights, who knows, like boxing, stuff like that. I deliberately say they might play a special role. I don't know whether they will completely do away with classical form of entertainment. Will we go to movies less often? Will we play board games less often? Who knows? People said the same about computer games, and computer games have just become another possible way of entertaining oneself. And I prefer to look at past history in order to predict the future. So they will play a role. Will they do away with all other forms of entertainment? Probably not.
But the presence of robots in our culture might even be a hindrance for those faced with the task of designing and building them. Mostly because fictional robots may set the bar too high, creating extremely unrealistic expectations.
Popular culture has created the image of the robot with superpowers. Most of the robots that you see in comic representations have some sort of ability that humans do not possess. To that regard, they are also almost like a cultural stereotype, and nobody is exempt from the influence of stereotypes. So researchers, of course, are affected in some way or the other, subconsciously maybe even, by the cultural stereotypes that are conveyed about robots.
When we think of a robot, we often imagine some sort of indestructible, invincible machine. A difficult stereotype to emulate, but one which apparently does not elude this incredible six-legged giant, which weighs in at nearly 2 tons, the Mantis. It is in fact the world's largest all-terrain hexapod robot. It can stretch up to 6 meters in length and to nearly 3 in height. It's powered by a 2.2-litre diesel engine, and it can be controlled both from the cockpit and remotely via a simple Wi-Fi connection. And it has an interesting story, because it was designed and built in England almost single-handedly by Matt Denton, an expert in special effects and mechanical creatures, who's worked on several prominent movie sagas, including Harry Potter and Star Wars.
So my background is in special effects within the UK film industry, and 4 years ago I started this project just for my own project, and I guess the first year was design and build, so we probably spent 6 months just designing on computer systems, then 6 months in the initial build phase, after which the first year I lost the only guy that was helping me and I went into the project on my own. So I spent another 2 years finishing off the build and perfecting things, tweaking software, etc, etc. So 3 years after I started we had a working version, and that was a year ago. And the last year has been all about a little bit of testing and taking it to events and promotion. So.
The Mantis is not Matt's first robot, of course. He started out on a much smaller scale, building this rather cute small hexapod along the way. Its eyes are cameras which it uses to track a person's movements, and almost all of Matt's machines are inspired by nature.
So the inspiration for the machine really came from insects. I was working on a job one day and I had some downtime and I had nothing to do, and I always wanted to build a 6-legged walking machine, but thinking about this big. So I started to study insects and how insects work, how many joints they have on their legs, things like this. And in fact, they have a lot more joints than the hexapods I build, but you can get away with 3. So I started with 3 joints per leg and studied the joints I needed, the particular ones I needed from an insect. And then I also started to study the way they moved and how their brains worked, how their leg locomotion worked. And that led to my first algorithms to control smaller machines about so big, so before I came up to this size.
The Mantis is powered by 18 hydraulic motors, controlled by a leg coordination brain called Hex Engine, which adapts the gait to the shape of the terrain. Maximum speed is less than a mile per hour, which may sound slow, but this machine can still make your heart skip a beat, even when moving at a crawling pace.
So when people see it, the reaction varies, to be honest. I mean, most people are impressed. Particularly if they understand a bit about engineering, because I think engineers get how difficult things like this are. Some people kind of go, oh, it's a bit slow, but that's the people who don't really understand the engineering side of it, but they're still kind of impressed by it. And I tend to find that you get a crowd of people in front of you doing a demonstration, they soon back off even though you're going slow once you start heading towards them. So.
The Mantis is one of the world's biggest moving robots, but not the biggest. This distinction belongs to this huge dragon from the small village of Furt im Wald in the Bavarian forest near the border between Germany and Poland. His name is Tradino, a combination of the words tradition and innovation. And it's very aptly named, because this technological marvel is the lead performer in a centennial tradition, Germany's oldest folk play. It's called Drachenstisch, and it's been performed in this town for the last 500 years. In the play, an ancient and bloody war awakens the dragon, which then proceeds to siege the village until it's defeated by a fearless knight. The show has employed mechanical dragons for decades, but the previous one had been in use since 1974 and wasn't technically a robot, but a large puppet, because it was operated from the inside by 4 puppeteers. So, in 2007, the German electronics manufacturer Zollner was commissioned to produce a new and completely autonomous model. They spent 3 years designing and building this impressive machine. It weighs 11 tons, it's just over 15 meters long, and when fully extended upwards, it reaches a towering 4.5 meters. Because of its immense proportions, transporting the robot to the venue of the play is no trivial matter. Tradino, like a true star, does not walk there, but is mounted on a custom-made 4-ton trailer, capable of carrying the dragon at a speed of about 4 miles per hour. To better maneuver in tight areas, it's an all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering vehicle, and the loading operation is handled by an onboard computer and several cameras. The impressive transporter is radio-controlled and powered by a 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine. Making such a gargantuan contraption walk is a technical challenge of no small order. The twin hydraulic system that makes it possible is comprised of 272 hydraulic valves, 65 animated valves and 262 sensors. Power is supplied by a 140 horsepower 2-litre turbo diesel engine. It has excellent maneuverability for its size. Tradino can turn on the spot and lunge forward at an angle of 20 degrees. The chassis is made of steel and covered in polyurethane, and everything is waterproofed so that Tradino can perform outdoors. During the performance, the innards of the dragon are filled with 80 litres of stage blood that squirt during the battle with the knight, along with 11 kilos of natural gas to support its fire-spitting abilities. Overall, the robot has over 300 meters of hydraulic lines, 1,300 meters of electric cables, and 110 meters of pneumatic lines. This system handles all the movements of the various parts and simulates the presence of moving muscles under the skin. Tradino is an amazing example of technology applied to tradition, and it's a poster boy for the versatility of robots. To achieve all the goals of this project, the makers of Tradino had to push the envelope in many different disciplines, and to come up with innovative and smart solutions to a number of problems. The end result is a unique machine that has brought new life to the folk play, which is performed every year at the end of August and continues to attract thousands of spectators from all over the world. Our next robot is also a performer in the truest sense of the word. Its name is Teotronico and it comes from Italy, but it's already attracted the attention of international media. It's the very first robotic pianist. Teotronico is the creation of Italian inventor Matteo Suzzi, who built an initial prototype back in 2007 using only recycled materials. To play, the robot doesn't move its hands on the keyboard like a real pianist would. Instead, his fingers rest in place just over the keys and are driven by a standard protocol of the music industry.
Il robot ha 53 dita e si basa sullo standard MIDI, quindi è in grado di suonare qualsiasi canzone, dalla classica al rock, jazz, senza alcun tipo di problema. E è in grado anche di gestire la dinamica, quindi con quanta pressione deve esercitare sul tasto del pianoforte.
Teotronico can play solo or jam with 2 additional robotic performers who play the drums. This robot does not suffer from stage fright. He was the first robot ever to perform with the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra and has racked up a number of public performances alongside Italian maestro Roberto Proceda. In the shows, Teotronico and Proceda play the same music one after the other. In this show, however, they're joined on stage by Chinese soprano Sharon Zai, while they perform an aria from a Giuseppe Verdi opera. But the aim of this robot is not to create an impeccable artificial pianist. It's quite the opposite. Teotronico's cold, spotless rendition is used to highlight the importance of the human element in music.
Il robot non nasce per sfidare l'uomo né tantomeno per cercare di sostituirlo, ma anzi deve essere uno strumento educativo per fare capire magari a un orecchio non attento la differenza che c'è tra un brano eseguito, quindi eseguito meccanicamente dal robot, e lo stesso brano invece interpretato da un essere umano, quindi con emozioni e sentimenti.
From Cornwall, England, comes another robot that has its natural habitat on a stage. Robo-Thespian.
Robo-Thespian is an actor, but a mechanical actor. It recreates acting with mechanics.
Robo-Thespian is designed to perform in front of an audience, and he has an impressive track record of doing precisely that, even trying to outperform human actors.
Thespian is an Old English word for actor, so this robot's really about performing, talking to people. We did an interesting project this summer with Queen Mary College in London where we had the robot performing on stage with 2 live comedians. This was part of Cleomenes Kedvas's PhD project, and of the 3 performers, I think the robot came second when judged by the audience, so it proves that robots really can outperform humans on some levels.
But this mechanical actor was also designed for all robotic performances, when multiple robots are on stage at the same time.
So, did you enjoy the show? Yes, but I wish there were more female robots.
We have an installation in Poland, in Warsaw, where we have 3 Robo-Thespians working together on stage, and they make a short play. It's about 20 minutes long, written by Stanislaw Lem, and it's a story about robots in the future who've forgotten the humans that made them. It's very entertaining. It's, I think, the only show in the world that is entirely performed by robots.
Robo-Thespian gives us a glimpse into the possibility that, as they keep evolving, robots may become ever more proficient in recreating human behavior. Could robots ever acquire a conscience, and maybe a level of intelligence comparable to that of a human? This is another long-standing theme in science fiction, and we can rule it out for at least the near future. But this prospect opens up another issue. How would we deal with machines that can feel emotions? Especially if they look somewhat like us.
Well, we can, I think, distinguish 2 possible cases. So one is if we have robots much like the ones we have today, or maybe slightly more sophisticated. People could develop some kind of deep attachment to them, but it would be a form of fetishism, not fundamentally different to somebody who falls in love with a pair of shoes or a pair of stockings or some particular object. The second case would be if we imagine a time in the further future where the robot has developed to the point where they actually are human-like in their mental life, where they have human-like emotions, thoughts and feelings, where they're really like a human except in a robot body. And in that situation, I think it might make perfect sense to have the same kind of emotional reactions to a robot as you would to a flesh and blood human being. And in fact, you could make the case that it would be a form of racism to discriminate between a human and a robot based on the fact that one was made of carbon and the other silicon, if on the inside, if their minds were the same.
For the time being, though, the evolutionary path of humanoid robots is still in its early stages, and it might be a few decades before they become widespread. As of today, just a handful of models are available for purchase. One of them is Now, a small but impressive robot made in France by Aldebaran Robotics.
Aldebaran's world is a world of robots, humanoid robots, companion robots. Robots that are benevolent, robots that are kind to you, robots that love people. And this make all what we are doing unique. Important thing for us is not to have robot useful for vacuum cleaning or whatever, is to have robot useful for what is the most important, which is interaction, communication, creating link. And if you want to create link with someone, if you want to interact and to communicate with someone, humanoid shape is the key. So that's making now unique. First one, it's a companion robot designed in order to communicate with people and to have people comfortable in communicating with. And so this is the key, but the second one is it's existing. It's affordable, you can buy it, you can program, you can do whatever you want with it. Right now, not in 10 years' time.
But Now is not just an entertainment robot. Its main characteristic is that it can be programmed for a potentially unlimited range of tasks by designing software and creating apps much in the same way we do with smartphones. And this allows the robot to become an innovative and captivating educational tool. Aldebaran Robotics has developed a special program called Ask Now, designed specifically for children with autism. Although they may have learning difficulties and can be socially challenged, they're also naturally attracted to technology. The robot can therefore become an extraordinary tool to facilitate their learning process across several topics, as well as helping with social relationships. And an entire community of developers, teachers, therapists, researchers and parents has coalesced around this program. About 40 apps are already available, and more are on the way. A brilliant example of how the versatility of smart robots can be applied to education and learning. At the Federal Polytechnic of Zurich, we find Naro, an aquatic robot whose function is to teach the basic properties of robotics and biology to young students.
We've specifically designed these robotic fish for entertainment, in particular for kids. So the idea is that we can use these robotic fish to teach children something about robotics, but not only robotics, also biology.
The robot has an aluminium and polycarbonate frame that envelops a central tube made of waterproof plexiglass. It houses the circuit boards, the batteries, and a tiny computer based on the free operating system Linux. The overall weight is around 7 kilograms and the length is about 50 centimeters. It's designed to be cheap so that schools can easily afford it, and to further engage the young in the marvels of hydrodynamics, the fins can be detached and replaced with different ones.
We have designed the fish such that we can attach fins modularly. So we have these 3D printed fins that you can see in the fish now, which the children can attach to different places and see how this helps the fish to go forward. Additionally to that, they can design their own fins. So we have here a fin which was designed by a child in a school. So they can actually design their own fins and attach them directly to the robot and see how the robot can move forward with these fins.
There's probably no better way to stimulate young people's interest in robotics and other technological topics than to have them build a robot. That's the idea that started a collaboration between toy manufacturers Lego and the MIT, one of the world's leading research institutions. The result was Mindstorm, a robotics invention system launched in 1998 and based around a portable and programmable computer hidden inside a small Lego brick. The brick can interact with the physical world through sensors and motors, allowing kids to build and customize the robots and other computerized devices. Many different kinds of electronic embedded systems can be modeled with Mindstorms, which makes the kit interesting for students of all ages. And over the years, a large community of professionals and hobbyists has formed around the kits, allowing for the sharing of design, new programming languages, and other ideas. Lego uses robotic systems in its amusement parks as well, like this one in Billund, Denmark. It's called RoboCoaster, and it works like a roller coaster, but without a track. It's based on impressively strong robotic arms built by German manufacturer KUKA, one of the world's leading robotic companies. The experience is fully customizable. Riders can choose from 7 intensity levels, each comprising 14 different movements, lasting between 5 and 15 seconds. Over 1.5 million combinations are possible in total. The attractiveness of the RoboCoaster is its unpredictability. Even the most exciting roller coasters run on a fixed path, so every emotion, albeit strong, can be anticipated. But here, it's impossible to see what's coming, which makes the ride incredibly thrilling. 2-ton insects, pianists, actors, mythical creatures, and footballers. Entertainment robots already have a wide spectrum of abilities, and because they're so enticing for young people, they can become a valuable tool for education and learning too. But as well as making our free time more exciting, robots also promise to give us more of it.
One can say much about the interaction between robots and entertainment. I would like to say one thing. In a certain sense, robots allow us to offload the things we are not interested, we don't like in our life. And actually they can then enhance the entertainment part of our life, the more creative side. It's actually something that Constant, an artist and philosopher from around 40 years ago, used to say, thinking that in a robotic society, the only thing that will be left to humans will be the fun part, the entertainment one, what he called Homo ludens.
Throughout this series, we've admired the many shapes and forms of robotics, a truly unique discipline, because it originates where engineering meets many other branches of science, from electronics to mechanics, all the way to biology, psychology and informatics. And Europe offers an astonishing variety of projects and ideas, making it the new frontier in the field. No matter where the future may lead, we'll remember these years as the beginning of a powerful, all-encompassing revolution. And while we don't yet have all the answers, we do have many fascinating questions. A scenario that clearly marks the dawn of the age of robots.
Welcome to the age of robots.